Hello, friends. This is Darren Hayes of Pigskin Dispatch.com. Before we take you to your favorite Sports History Network show, just want to tell you a little bit about some merch that you can pick up that represents your favorite SHN podcast. So far, there's t-shirts, coffee mugs, and even books from some of the authors that do podcasts right here on SHN. Who could buy something better than that, than have the history right from the gentleman that you hear talking about it? But we also are adding things each and every day. And where's that store, may you ask? Well, it's at sportshistorynetwork.com. Up at the top, there is the SHN merch button. Click on that. It'll take you right to the store, and you can be representing your favorite podcast and show the world that, hey, on the swag that I'm using, it's the headquarters of sports yesteryear, Sports History Network, and my favorite podcaster, the Sports History Network store. Shop there today. History of football was fantastic during the 1925 college season. Big-name players, big-time coaches, and schools on the rise led to one of the greatest seasons in football history and a new way to rank the number one team in its history, all coming up in just a moment.
This is the Pigskin Daily History Dispatch, a podcast that covers the anniversaries of American football events throughout history on a day-to-day basis. Your host, Darren Hayes, is podcasting from America's North Shore to bring you the memories of the gridiron one day at a time. So as we come out of the tunnel of the Sports History Network, let's take the field and go no huddle through the portal of positive gridiron history with PigskinDispatch.com.
This podcast is part of the Sports History Network, your headquarters for the yesteryear of your favorite sport. You can learn more at sportshistorynetwork.com.
Hello, my football friends. This is Darren Hayes of PigskinDispatch.com. Welcome once again to the Pigpen, your portal to positive football history. And we are back in our Football History Rewind, part number 56, and we are entering into the 1925 season. Yes, the Roaring 20s have certainly had their impact on the game of football, as this series has shown already. The players and coaches from this era of football are still well-known names 100 years later that any football fan has probably heard of. Traditions were also started in the mid-1920s that carry on today. In this edition of the Football History Rewind, we will enlighten the reader to the start of traditions in 1925 and cover the college season of that same season as a very hot topic. Now, there's that annual controversy. We still see it today. This time of year in college football is usually full of controversy. The main argument is who is the number one team in the nation. The radio and television experts fill the airwaves on their opinions of who should be playing for the national championship, as well as social media and how unfair the system is to determine what teams will vie for the title. Well, we've gone from the BCS to the FBS, a 4-team playoff system. People are clamoring for more expanded playoffs and allowing more teams in, and how the NCAA should step in and introduce a more expansive system and a better way to crown a champion. But it gets a little bit annoying to hear all the talk each and every year ad nauseum on the subject. The other major sports in collegiate and professional realms have never had the debate of who is the best team in the top division of like the NCAA football does. Well, today no one knows the answers to how these issues will be resolved or if they ever will, but we do know how they got started. It also came about in 1925. And from football's early beginnings, there have been some sort of ranking systems. The Helms Athletic Foundation suggested their rankings each season from 1883 through 1935. This was not done with very much fact, but was done more of an opinion from this group of experts. The path to having an official scientific ranking system in college football all started at the University of Illinois in the School of Economics. Yeah, that's right, the School of Economics. A teacher in this department, Frank G. Dickinson, was an avid football fan who decided to apply his mathematical skills and expertise to his favorite pastime. Dickinson developed a formula by which data could be entered in to determine who the best team in the land was each season. At first, it was for his own amusement, but one day he revealed it to one of his classes as part of his lecture. One student in the class happened to be the sports editor of the school's newspaper, and he published the professor's rankings in a story that he wrote. This article came to the attention of the clothing mogul in Chicago named Jack Rissman. Rissman was so intrigued by the notion that he decided to use the rankings to award a trophy to the top team in the Western Conference, the predecessor of the Big Ten. And when word of this notion spread to the nearby South Bend, Indiana, things took another course. Newt Rockne loved the idea so much that he immediately invited Rissman and Dickinson to lunch to discuss taking this award to the national level so that Notre Dame, amongst others, could be part of of the rankings. Rockne easily persuaded the men to go national with the system and the award, and even talked the two into doing it retroactively back to 1924 so that the Fighting Irish could be the very first national champions in the scientific system. The Dickinson system was used until 1940 when it became overshadowed by the Associated Press system. The decision of who was number one was controversial back then. In a way, it went down in the tradition of objective argumentation, which carries on to this day. The bean counters and math geeks got us again with that economics professor and his system, Mr. Dickinson. Well, the 1925 collegiate season, it was a big year of change as the power of college football somewhat shifted. It wasn't the Eastern teams that held all the power. No, other parts of the country, including the West and Deep South, were producing some very good football teams that were competitive at any level. Michigan, under Fielding Yost, was once again a strong team with a 7-1 overall record. The Wolverines' only loss was a score of 2-3 to the University of Minnesota Golden Gophers. The club features not one, but two consensus All-Americans that season in quarterback Benny Friedman and N. Benny Oosterbaan. Now, Pittsburgh, too, was a very big powerhouse with Pop Warner at the helm, but they too suffered a lone defeat in Week 2 against Lafayette by the score of 9-20. They each were strong contenders, but there were a couple of undefeated squads in college football that season that outdid them both. Alabama and Dartmouth. Now, they were two teams that ended up with the best records of all in major league teams in the nation in 1925. Both were undefeated, as a matter of fact. Well, the Dartmouth Indians, led by halfback Andy Oberlander, compiled a record of 8-0 and outscored its opponents by a whopping total of 340-29, having defeated the likes of Harvard, Cornell, and Chicago in a process of the rugged schedule of a third-year head coach Jesse Holley as his team was on a mission. The Indian 11 were retroactively declared the national champion by the Dickinson system and historian Park H. Davis. Now, the Crimson Tide of Alabama were equally impressive as they compiled a 10-0 record and were recognized in later years as the national champions by the Billingsley Report, the Bone System, College Football Research Association, and the Helms Athletic Foundation, just to name a few. The athletic star of the Tide were Mac Brown and Grant Gillis. An epic game against Georgia Tech in late October propelled them to the one trademark victory of this version of the Tide. It was in a game between the undefeated teams in the 1926 Rose Bowl. Alabama, that was just 9-0 at the time, defeated the Pacific Coast Conference champion Washington in an upset. 20-19 was the score in the game, and that game has gone down in history as the game that changed the South and put the Southern teams on the map in a national spotlight, and we know where they are today with the SEC. So this is a great little bit of football history. 1925 is such an interesting year in college football, and pro football too. We'll get to that next time in our Football History Rewind, part number 57. Stay tuned for that. But don't worry, we have football for you each and every day of the year. You can go to pigskindispatch.com, see our latest articles, see our latest podcasts. We have videos coming out, and we have lots more in store for you as we cover the greatest history of football, one day at a time, a year at a time here in Football History Rewind, however you want to look at it. And don't forget to check out every day we're putting a post on the history of a FBS college football team. We started in alphabetical order, and we're working right through all of the teams. We're going to go a little bit beyond the FBS. We're going to be covering right in through probably December when it's bowl season. Include some of the Ivy League schools with the FBS and the HBC teams as well. So we'll get into all those and give you the history of each with our collection of the top posts from the internet here at pigskindispatch.com. So till tomorrow, everybody, have a great gridiron day. Peeking up at the clock, the time's running down. We're going to go into victory formation, take a knee, and let this baby run out. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you back tomorrow for the next podcast. We invite you to check out our website, pigskindispatch.com, not only to see the daily football history, but to experience positive football with our many articles on the good people of the game, as well as our own football comic strip, Cleat Marks Comics. Pigskindispatch.com is also on social media outlets, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and don't forget the Pigskin Dispatch YouTube channel to get all of your positive football news and history. A special thanks to the talents of Mike and Jean Monroe, as well as Jason Neff for letting us use their music during our podcast.
This podcast is part of the Sports History Network, your headquarters for the yesteryear of your favorite sport. You can learn more at sportshistorynetwork.com.
It was just another ordinary day in the offices of the Pittsburgh Guardian newspaper circa 1924. But for Marla Delft, assistant editor, everything was about to change. For she was about to discover the awesome attractiveness of Row 1 brand retro sports paraphernalia items thanks to Orville Mulligan, sports writer.
And there it is.
Wow, Orville, that's really the bee's knees.
Isn't it just? A poster-sized replica of the actual 1909 World Series program cover.
I can see that. But where did you get it? And where'd you get it framed?
I ordered it from the Row 1 website, where over 6,000 items of sports memorabilia from the 1880s to the 1990s are available for reproduction, in multiple sizes and in several different materials, with over a dozen styles of frame to choose from for prints like this.
Well, I'm sure Mr. Delft would love to put up more of these in the office. But I'm equally as sure they're beyond this newspaper's budget.
Not at all, my dear Marla. See for yourself. Go to sportshistorynetwork.com/row1.
sportshistorynetwork.com/row1. Oh my, these are good prices. Oh, and look at this stuff. Oklahoma-Nebraska football, college basketball art, Michael Jordan items.
And so it
retro
was that
sports
Marla Delft
advertisement
discovered the
placards.
splendiferous magic of Row 1 sports memorabilia, arts, and prints. You can too by visiting sportshistorynetwork.com/row1. That's ROW1 today for access to the full Row 1 catalog of gallery prints and gifts like t-shirts, long-sleeve shirts, telephone cases, coffee mugs, blankets, pillows, towels, and even shower curtains. Act today for 15% discount off all prints with coupon code SHN15 and 20% off all other items with coupon code SHN20 at checkout. And keep your dial locked to the Sports History Network for the exciting chronicles of the 1920 sports world in Orville Mulligan, sports writer. Coming soon.